Right, yes, so necessity is the mother, wife, sister, girlfriend of invention and innovation. That saying was originally attributed to Plato. I'm sure he won't mind at all that I've modified it a bit for today's purposes. But over the centuries, millions of lives have been improved through the inventions and innovations of women. Some of those women are unsung heroines. Others are very much in the public eye and have rightly taken their place in history. For example, Marie Curie, one of only 4 people to ever be awarded 2 Nobel Prizes, and the only woman to achieve that incredible feat. In the world of art, I would offer you up Georgia O'Keeffe, a fantastic artist and the first woman to be given a solo show at the Museum of Modern Art in New York, paving the way for other artists to follow in her footsteps. And in the world of politics, I would offer up Indira Gandhi, not only for the incredible influence that she had when she was in office, but for her legacy that continues to shape modern India today. And how about those unsung heroines? They've invented things from the sublime to the practical. The chocolate chip cookie, the dishwasher, hurrah! Practical, the circular saw, who'd have thought it? And windscreen wipers, all invented by women. And in the context of the speech that we've just heard, COBOL, the computer programming language, who'd have thought that? And my personal favourite, Kevlar, hurrah for the bulletproof vest. And women make up a little bit more than half of the global population, a little bit more than half, but we're woefully, and we've heard already today, woefully underrepresented in business, in society, in politics, and I wonder why that is. There was a recent report in the Harvard Business Review that talked about women as an emerging market, a market that is twice the size of China and India combined, twice the size. Globally, that report goes on to say, women control $20 trillion worth of consumer buying decisions. And that's just you lot in this room. Two out of 3 privately owned companies are owned by women. And furthermore, globally, women will earn nearly $13 trillion a year. We are a huge market. And a market that organisations are desperate to get hold of. And businesses spend a lot of time and effort strategising about how to access this market. But what they fail to do is to really leverage the experience of the female talent in their business. And why is this a problem? I'm sure most of us will agree that the last 5 years have been pretty miserable from an economic position. Pretty awful. Austerity everywhere. We've had most of the mature markets have been in recession at one point in time or another. And those that haven't have either had low or no growth, and we're still struggling to find growth. Really sustainable, good, strong growth. We've seen huge shifts. We've seen shifts in capital from west to east and from north to south. And now we're seeing the emerging markets with their growth declining. No longer the double-digit growth that we saw a few years ago. And growth is the holy grail. Growth is really important. Growth is the rocket fuel for business, for communities, for countries. It is something that we need to go after. And the Centre for Talent Innovation recently released a report that made the connection between innovation and growth. And their hypothesis is that the only way to achieve sustained growth is through serial innovation. And that report goes on to say that innovation is intrinsically linked to diversity and inclusion. You need diverse teams in order to be able to innovate. And that innovation will drive growth. You cannot groupthink out of the box. You need diversity to think out of the box. And if we have 50% of the global population, i.e. women, underrepresented in business, we've got a problem. Because those teams are not going to be diverse enough to innovate and to drive growth. So we have a challenge. We have many challenges. The IMF recently released a report that made, again, this connection between women in business and growth. And they talk about this being particularly an issue for markets with an aging population. Well, I'm afraid where we're sitting today, the bad news is most of the mature markets have aging populations. And they focus specifically on Japan, which has a real problem here, a real problem with aging population. But they also have the lowest percentage of female representation in business of any G7 country. And the IMF report says that if Japan were able to raise its percentage of female participation in business just to the average of the G7, not even best in class, it would improve their GDP growth by 4%. This is huge, a huge opportunity. So what's stopping us? I think there are a number of things that are stopping us. There are structural issues, there are societal issues, and then there's something about us as individuals as well. The structural issues, Christine Lagarde, through the IMF, has called for structural reforms. Reforms of things like taxation and return to work policies that will enable more women and encourage more women into the workplace. But the policies and procedures and the structural reforms are only part of the story. They only go so far. This is a difficult journey. We heard that from Stella. It's a long and arduous journey, and that's because this is about the hearts and minds. And when you look at the societal issues, I'm not just talking about the obvious, the Afghanistans and the Pakistans, where young women like Malala are almost killed just because they want to get an education. I'm talking about markets much closer to home, mature markets. I'm talking about Germany. In Germany, there's a colloquial expression to describe women returning mums. So women who return to the workplace after having children, raven mother or crow mother. It is incredibly insulting and not at all inclusive. And what kind of an example does that set to the next generation? Look at Hollywood as a community. Again, a recent report has indicated that female Hollywood stars earn less than their male counterparts. They have fewer lines to speak, so arguably are less impactful in their movies, and they spend more time with their clothes off than their male counterparts. I mean, what's wrong with that picture? Apart from just about everything. So here we are. And what responsibility are we going to take as individuals? Women do tend to lack self-confidence. We do tend to be quite self-effacing. If we have any kind of success at all, what do we attribute it to? The team, luck, being in the right place at the right time. And I think there is something about speaking up and speaking out that we need to do. And Stella gave us a call to arms earlier to do this, to be rabble-rousers. But we don't need to do it on our own. We need to work together to turn up the volume here. Madeleine Albright once famously said, "There's a special place in hell reserved for women who don't support other women." A sentiment I wholeheartedly endorse. So we need to do this together. We need to work together to support one another, to lift as we climb, as we progress through our careers, through our lives, to encourage the next generation. And my challenge to you is to think about yourselves as role models. Are you role modeling the behaviours that you want to see in business, in society, in politics? Are you doing enough to encourage the next generation? To help young women feel like the world is their oyster and that they can achieve anything that they want? My mother used to tell me that if I aimed for the moon, I might hit the top of a tree. And she was right. But what I didn't know at the time, when she told me that, was I wouldn't be going on this journey on my own. I would be going on this journey with other people, with men and women, with colleagues, with peers, with friends, who would help me And in the same way, I would help them. So I would just leave you now with some fabulous words of wisdom from Edmund Lee, just in thinking about who you surround yourself with and how you interact with people. Surround yourself with the dreamers and the doers, the believers and the thinkers, but above all, surround yourself with those who see greatness in you, even if you don't see it in yourself. Thank you.